So it sounds like there are some definite successes you can have with this kind of migration. I'm sure anyone who's like undertaking this, like certainly the chief finance officers are going to be like, well, how do we actually measure the success? What are we going to get out of this?
Absolutely. I think the first and foremost is, why did you set out to do the project from the get-go? Was it cost savings? Was it scalability? Was it access for compute resources? So I think that's the initial UAT, if you will. But the ultimate success is where we're seeing with our customers is data availability and accessibility. So when you have a single source of truth and improved governance, improved security, there is sort of a data flywheel happening where more users having access to the right data that they need at the time that they need it. Now, the business is able to effectively harness more value out of their data. So it's going back to climbing up the maturity model and using data as a strategic driver for the business.
Okay, so you really have to define some goals then up front before you actually embark on this, if you want to be able to sort of accurately measure how well you're doing at the end of it. That makes a lot of sense. Okay. On the flip side, are there any things that can go wrong? Like, what do you see are the most common problems?
Yeah, I'd say that what can go wrong is maybe the first of what we said could go right. It's when you don't go in eyes wide open, when you haven't done your due diligence to map out what you believe the business opportunities are, where the gaps are, how you can optimize for cost, how you can optimize for performance. And some people go in sort of with blinders on to think that there's a utopia, and they come to find out that the lack of planning means that they're in a worse place than when they started. Right. So I would stress that doing proper planning, making sure that you understand what the gaps are, what the trade-offs are, and make the right decision for your business. And every business will be different. Some will be full all in cloud, some will be full on-prem, some will be a hybrid, depending on your model and the market you're in and all that. So I would say that planning is extremely important, and being realistic about when you're going to have those quick wins and where you're going to build the foundation is also important.
Okay, I have to say, like, it always disappoints me when like planning is a thing that you really need to do. It turns out to be important. So I don't want to dive right in. No, I've got to be patient. So yeah. All right. So planning seems to be a very important thing. Having some goals seems to be an important thing. Are there any other tips you have for making sure that a migration project is a success?
Yeah, I think it's arming yourself with as much knowledge. I think now that the responsibility shifts back to the users, you really have to know a lot about your cloud platform of choice. You got to know how the tools and the interoperability works. Because going back to the risks, you can never eliminate the human error. Cloud might be one of the safest places because of the robustness in security features, the data encryption at rest, in transit. But there are incidences of not provisioning things properly. So just knowing as much of this incredibly powerful capability will make sure that it'll be the best way to mitigate any risks.
Yeah, and I would also add that it's important to design that center of excellence we talked about earlier, that is an educational center of excellence. And where I see some organizations struggling as well is fitting a square peg into a round hole from a tool perspective, because some tools are designed for performance, some are designed for ultra flexibility, some are designed for just low cost, right? So if you use the tools in the way that they're not designed, you could escalate your costs and then hurt your ability to get the performance and the data that you need. And then being able to design that data in a foundational way to be able to access the data you need across the organization, not put in silos, not locking the data down for users is important, and creating that center of excellence and having kind of a shared network where people can share, hey, I use this tool for this and it worked well, and be able to share among the company and organization is best practice.